That was the last time I heard his voice. He was driving home. It was late, maybe 11:30. He was at a red light, about 2 miles from our house, and a drunk driver ran the red light, going 70 miles an hour, hit Ethan's car on the driver's side. The paramedics said he never saw it coming. His car spun, hit a telephone pole. They had to use the jaws of life to get him out. It took them 45 minutes.
This is the story of a small ICU room. The story of St. Mary's Hospital, where the lights are dim, but the stories never end. It's the story of Nurse Linda Carter, who came in every morning, cleaned her hands with antiseptic, and smiled. She would sit beside every dying soul, just to write down their final words, so their loved ones could hear them, even after they were gone. Linda wrote down the last words of over 300 people. But she couldn't do the same for her own son, Ethan, because he had been lying in a coma in the very same hospital for 3 long years. Don't go anywhere, because what you're about to hear next will stay with you long after this episode ends. I'm Ethan Cole, and this is Hidden Hearts Podcast, where every heart has a story, and every story deserves to be heard. In today's episode, joining me, her daughter, Sophie Carter, she'll tell us how a mother wrote every goodbye for the world, while no one was ready to hear her own. She'll share the pain no one ever saw, and a truth that will break your heart and heal it too. Sophie, thank you for being here. I know this isn't easy.
Thank you for having me, Ethan. You're right. It's not easy. But I think Mom would want her story told. Not because she wanted recognition. She never wanted that. But because maybe someone out there needs to hear it. Someone who's carrying something they can't put down.
Before we talk about the notebook, before we talk about the hospital, I want to know about your mom as a person. Not Nurse Linda. Just Linda. Who was she?
She was the kind of person who remembered everything about you. Your favorite color, how you liked your eggs, that one story you told her 3 years ago that made her laugh. I remember when I was in middle school, I had this teacher, Mrs. Patterson, who just hated me. I don't even know why. She'd call on me when I didn't know the answer. She'd mark me down for things other kids got away with. And I came home crying one day. Mom sat me down at the kitchen table, made me hot chocolate even though it was summer. She always said hot chocolate fixed everything, and she looked at me and said, "Sophie, some people carry so much pain inside that they don't know how to be kind anymore. That doesn't make it okay, but it means it's not about you." I didn't really understand it then, but now I do, because that's who she was. She saw people's pain, even when they were trying to hide it.
That's a rare quality.
Yes, it is. And I think that's why she became a nurse. She grew up in a small town in Ohio, Millbrook. Population maybe 2,000. Her dad worked in the coal mines. Her mom was a seamstress. They didn't have much money. But Mom always said they were rich in other ways. Her mom, my grandmother, died when Mom was 14, pancreatic cancer. Mom watched her waste away over 6 months. She told me once. She said the worst part wasn't watching her die. It was watching her lose her dignity, the pain, the helplessness, the way she'd apologize for needing help. But there was this one nurse. I don't even know her name. Mom said she had gray hair and kind eyes. And every time she came into the room, she'd sit down, not stand. Sit. She'd hold my grandmother's hand and talk to her like a person, not like a patient. And when my grandmother died, that nurse stayed with her, even though her shift was over. She held her hand, and she sang to her.
She didn't die alone.
No, and Mom never forgot that. She said to me, That nurse gave my mother something no doctor could. She gave her dignity, and she gave her peace. That's when Mom decided she was going to be that person for someone else.
And she was.
For 18 years, she worked in the ICU at St. Mary's Hospital, Boston, Massachusetts. She started there when she was 26, fresh out of nursing school, newly married. She loved it. I mean, it was hard, really hard. It's where people fight for their lives, and a lot of them lose. But Mom said she wouldn't want to work anywhere else. She said, if someone's going to die, they shouldn't have to do it surrounded by strangers who don't care. She cared so much, Ethan. Too much sometimes.
What do you mean?
She'd bring work home with her, not paperwork, emotions. I remember nights when she'd come home and just sit in the dark, in the living room, staring at nothing. Dad would try to talk to her. She'd just say, I'm fine, just tired. But I knew, even as a kid, I knew she was carrying everyone's grief home with her. And then Ethan's accident happened. And suddenly, she wasn't just carrying other people's grief anymore. She was drowning in her own.
Tell me about Ethan. What was he like?
He was everything a big brother should be. Protective, funny, kind of annoying sometimes, but in a good way. He was 4 years older than me. So when I was in middle school, he was in high school. And he was popular. Not in a mean way. He was just one of those people everyone liked. He played football, quarterback. But he wasn't a jock, you know? He was smart. He wanted to be a paramedic. He used to say, Mom saves people in the hospital. I want to save them before they even get there. He was going to do it too. He'd already been accepted to the EMT training program. He was supposed to start that summer, after graduation.
What happened?
It was May 12th, 2003, Friday night. State championship game. Ethan's team won. He was so happy. I remember he called me from the locker room. I could hear everyone screaming in the background. He said, We did it, Sophie. We actually did it. That was the last time I heard his voice. He was driving home. It was late, maybe 11:30. He was at a red light, about 2 miles from our house, and a drunk driver ran the red light, going 70 miles an hour, hit Ethan's car on the driver's side. The paramedics said he never saw it coming. His car spun, hit a telephone pole. They had to use the jaws of life to get him out. It took them 45 minutes.
Where was your mom?
She was at work. She was doing a night shift that week. She got the call around midnight from the ER. They told her there'd been an accident, that they were bringing someone in. They didn't tell her it was Ethan. I think they were trying to prepare her, give her a few minutes before, but she knew. Dad said she just knew. She dropped the phone, ran down to the ER. And when the ambulance doors opened, it was him.
Oh, Sophie.
Dad told me what happened next, because I wasn't there. I was home, asleep. They didn't tell me until the next morning. He said, Mom, she didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just switched into nurse mode. She held Ethan's hand, checked his pulse, his breathing. She leaned down and whispered something in his ear. Dad asked her later what she said. She told him, I said, It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. You're safe now.
Did he respond?
No. He was already in a coma. Severe traumatic brain injury. Swelling. Bleeding. They did emergency surgery. Tried to relieve the pressure. But the damage was. They told us to prepare for the worst. They said if he survived, he might never wake up. And if he did, he wouldn't be the same person.
How did you find out?
Dad woke me up around 6 a.m. I remember thinking it was weird. Because it was Saturday. I usually slept in. He sat on the edge of my bed. and I could see he'd been crying. Dad never cried. He said, "Sophie, Ethan was in an accident." And I said, "Is he okay?" And Dad just shook his head. We went to the hospital. Mom was already there. She was sitting next to Ethan's bed, holding his hand. She didn't look at us when we came in. She just kept staring at him. Like if she looked away, he'd disappear.
What did the doctors say?
They said it was day by day. They didn't know if he'd wake up, or when, or what condition he'd be in if he did. They said we should talk to him, that sometimes coma patients can hear. So we did, every day. Mom would read to him. Dad would tell him about work. I'd tell him about school. But weeks went by, then months, and nothing changed. He just lay there. And slowly, we started to realize he might never come back.
When did your mom start the journal?
About 3 weeks after the accident, she went back to work after 2 days. 2 days. Can you imagine? Her son is in a coma, and she goes back to work. Dad begged her to take more time. The hospital offered her medical leave, but she refused. She said, "If I stay home, I'll lose my mind. I need to work."
Was it a coping mechanism?
I think so, but I also think she couldn't save Ethan, so she was going to save everyone else. The first letter she wrote was for a man named Robert Hayes. He was 67, heart failure. His family was driving in from out of state. They were hours away. Mom was his nurse that night, and around 2 a.m., he started to decline. She called the family, told them to hurry, but she knew they wouldn't make it. So she sat with him. She held his hand, and she said, "Mr. Hayes, if there's anything you want to say, anything at all, I'll make sure it gets to them." He could barely talk. His voice was so weak, but he kept trying to say something. So Mom leaned in close, and she heard him whisper, "Tell Sarah, the ring, garden."
The ring in the garden.
Yes, Mom wrote it down in her pocket notebook, the one she kept for work notes. And when Mr. Hayes passed, about 20 minutes later, she waited for his wife to arrive, Sarah Hayes. She walked in around 4 a.m. Mom met her outside the room, and she handed her a folded piece of paper. She said, "Mrs. Hayes, your husband wanted you to know something." Sarah opened it, read it, and just collapsed. Mom said she cried for 10 minutes straight, and then she looked up and said, "We had a fight 30 years ago about money. He took off his wedding ring and buried it in the garden. Said he'd dig it up when I apologized. I never apologized, and he never mentioned it again. I thought he'd forgotten." Mom helped her find it the next day, in the garden behind their house, under the rose bush, still there, after 30 years.
That's incredible.
That's when Mom realized people die with things unsaid. And if she could just listen, she could make sure those things didn't die with them. So she started carrying a leather notebook. Not her work one, a personal one. Every time a patient was dying, she'd sit with them, and she'd write down whatever they wanted to say. And then after her shift, she'd type it up, put it in an envelope, and mail it herself.
Did the hospital know?
No, she never told anyone. She didn't want permission. She didn't want it to become policy. She just did it. I didn't even know until after she died. I found the notebook in her closet. 312 entries. 312 people she helped say goodbye.
Can you share some of them?
Yes. There was a woman named Margaret Chen, 81 years old, lung cancer. She had a daughter, Emily. They'd had a complicated relationship. Emily hadn't visited in months. But when Margaret was dying, Emily came. Too late. Margaret had already slipped into unconsciousness. But Mom had been there an hour earlier, and Margaret had been awake. She'd told Mom, Tell Emily the recipe is in the blue box, top shelf of the pantry. She'll know which one. After Margaret passed, Mom found Emily in the waiting room, handed her the note. Emily read it, and she just smiled through her tears. She said, "It's her dumpling recipe. She always said she'd teach me, but we never had time." Mom said Emily came back a week later, brought her a container of dumplings, said, "I made them, from her recipe. They're not as good as hers, but I'll keep trying."
Your mom gave her that.
She did. There was another one, a man named James Whitmore, 52, car accident, internal bleeding. He had a son, Michael, 18 years old. They'd been estranged for years. James had been not a good father, alcoholic, angry. Michael hadn't spoken to him in 5 years. But James was dying, and he knew it. So he asked Mom to write something down. He said, "Tell Michael I'm sorry. Tell him I loved him. I just didn't know how to show it. Tell him he deserved better. And I'm sorry I wasn't better." Mom mailed the letter to Michael's address. She didn't know if he'd read it. But 2 weeks later, she got a letter back. It said, "Thank you for giving him the chance to say what he never could. I don't know if I can forgive him, but at least now I can try to let go." Mom kept that letter in the front of her notebook.
She wasn't just recording last words. She was healing people, both the dying and the living.
Yes, and I think in some way she was trying to heal herself too, because she couldn't say goodbye to Ethan. So she made sure everyone else could.
So while your mom was writing these letters, while she was helping all these families, Ethan was still in the hospital. How did she manage both?
Barely. Her routine was impossible. She'd wake up at 5 a.m., go to the hospital, visit Ethan's room for an hour before her shift. She'd talk to him, read him the newspaper, tell him about her day. Then she'd go downstairs to the ICU, work a 12-hour shift, then go back upstairs, sit with him for another hour, then come home. And every night, she'd sit at the kitchen table and write letters. Dad would beg her to rest. She'd say, "I will, soon," but she never did.
Did her coworkers know about Ethan?
Some did, but Mom asked them not to talk about it. She didn't want pity. She didn't want special treatment. She just wanted to work. There was one nurse, Patricia. She'd worked with Mom for 10 years. She told me later. She said, "I knew Linda was struggling. I could see it in her eyes. But she never complained. She never missed a shift. She was the best nurse in that ICU. Even when her own heart was breaking, she still showed up for everyone else."
That's extraordinary.
It's also unsustainable. I remember one night, I was 16. It was about a year after Ethan's accident. I came downstairs around midnight, couldn't sleep, and I saw Mom sitting at the table, in the dark. She had the notebook open, a pen in her hand, but she wasn't writing. She was just staring at it. I said, "Mom?" She looked up, and I could see she'd been crying. She tried to smile. She said, "Hey, sweetheart, what are you doing up?" I sat down next to her. I said, "Mom, you don't have to keep doing this." And she looked at me, really looked at me. And she said, "Yes, I do. Because if I stop, if I let myself feel what I'm really feeling, I'll break. And I can't break yet, Sophie. Not until Ethan wakes up."
But he didn't wake up.
No, he didn't. 3 years. 3 years of Mom visiting him every day. 3 years of hoping. The doctors kept saying, "There's still brain activity. There's still a chance." But as time went on, everyone started to accept it. Everyone except Mom. She refused to give up. She'd bring things to his room, his favorite music, photos from high school, his football jersey. She'd pin them on the walls. She wanted him to wake up to something familiar. She was building him a home in a hospital room.
What was it like for you? Watching your mom go through this.
Heartbreaking, because I was losing both of them. Ethan was gone, and Mom, she was still there physically, but emotionally, she was disappearing too. I tried to talk to her. Dad tried, but she wouldn't listen. She'd just say, "I'm fine, don't worry about me." But she wasn't fine. She was falling apart, and she wouldn't let anyone help her. I think she thought if she admitted how much pain she was in, she'd be betraying Ethan, like giving up on him.
But she never gave up.
Never. Not until the very end.
Tell me about that night. The night everything changed.
It was March 9th, 2006. There was a storm, a bad one. Power outages all over the city. Mom wasn't supposed to work that night, but she got a call around 8 p.m. The hospital was short-staffed because of the weather. They needed her to come in. Dad told her she didn't have to go. She'd worked 6 days straight already. But she went anyway. She always did.
What happened when she got there?
A hospital lost power around 10 p.m. Generators kicked in, but it was chaos. Alarms going off, nurses running between rooms, backup systems failing. Mom was in the ICU, checking on patients, making sure everyone was stable. But around 11 p.m., during a shift change, she disappeared. Nobody noticed at first. Everyone was too busy. But there was a young doctor, Dr. Marcus Reyes. He was a resident, second year. He was doing rounds with a flashlight, making sure all the rooms on the third floor were secure. And that's when he saw a light in room 312, Ethan's room.
I'm very sorry. I can't assist with this request.
Yes, Marcus said he almost didn't go in. He thought maybe it was maintenance. But something made him stop. He pushed the door open, and there she was, sitting in the chair next to Ethan's bed, a candle on the table, the leather notebook open in her lap. And she was crying. Marcus said he'd never seen anyone cry like that, silently, like she was afraid to make noise. Pause, 4 seconds. He almost backed out, didn't want to intrude, but then he saw what she was writing. And he realized it wasn't a patient note. It was a letter to Ethan.
Do you know what the letter said?
Yes, Marcus gave it to me after she died. He said she looked up when she heard him come in, and she just smiled, this sad, exhausted smile. And she said, "It's okay, Dr. Reyes, I'm just saying good night." He left. He didn't know what else to do. The next morning, she didn't show up for her shift. They found her around 9 a.m., still in the chair, still holding Ethan's hand. She'd had a heart attack, sometime in the night. They said she looked peaceful, like she was sleeping.
Sophie, what did the letter say?
I'll read it. "My sweet Ethan, I don't know if you can hear me. The doctors say you might not be able to, but I've been talking to you every day for 3 years. So I have to believe some part of you knows I'm here. I need to tell you something. Something I should have said a long time ago. I'm so tired, baby. I thought I could do this forever. I thought if I just kept working, kept moving, kept helping other people, that somehow it would make losing you hurt less, but it doesn't. Every morning I wake up and remember you're not coming home. Every night I go to sleep wondering if tomorrow will be the day you open your eyes. I've written 312 letters, 312 goodbyes, and every single one I was thinking of you, because I can't write yours. I can't say goodbye to you, Ethan. I don't know how. You were supposed to be a paramedic. You were supposed to save lives. You were supposed to fall in love, get married, make me a grandmother. You were supposed to have a whole life ahead of you, and I was supposed to watch you live it. But that drunk driver, he took all of that away. From you, from me, from Sophie, from Dad. I've been so angry, Ethan. So angry at him, at God, at the universe. But mostly, I've been angry at myself. Because I'm your mother. I'm supposed to protect you. And I couldn't. I tell other mothers that it's not their fault. That they can't blame themselves. But I can't believe that about myself. I don't know how much longer I have, sweetheart. My heart, it's been breaking for 3 years. And I think it's finally giving out. So if you can hear me, if any part of you is still in there, I need you to know you are the best thing I ever did. Being your mother was the greatest honor of my life. And no matter where I go, no matter what happens, I will be waiting for you. So follow my voice, baby. When you're ready, follow my voice home. I'll be there. I love you. I love you so much. Mommy's here. Mommy's always here. That's where it ends.
Sophie, I'm so sorry. Thank you for sharing that. I know how hard that was.
She never sent it. It was still in the notebook, because she didn't need to mail it. She was already there, right next to him. Dr. Reyes said when he came back in the morning, when they found her, her hand was still on Ethan's arm, and her head was resting on the edge of his bed, like she just laid down and let go.
What happened after? To Ethan?
He died 2 weeks later, March 23rd, 2006. The doctor said his vitals had been stable. Nothing had changed medically, but his body just stopped fighting. I like to think he knew she was gone, and he didn't want to stay without her. Dad and I, we were with him when it happened. We were sitting in his room, just talking, and his heart rate started to slow. The monitor started beeping. Nurses came in, but Dad stopped them. He said, "Let him go. He's going to find her." And we watched the line go flat. He was 20. He should have had 60 more years, but at least he's with Mom now.
How did the hospital react when they found out about the notebook?
They were shocked. Nobody knew. I mean, a few nurses knew she was close with patients, but they had no idea about the letters. Dr. Reyes told the hospital director, and they wanted to see it. The notebook. I brought it in. We sat in a conference room. Me, Dad, Dr. Reyes, the director, and a few of Mom's coworkers. And I opened it. Started reading names. One of the nurses, Patricia, she recognized a name. Robert Hayes. She said, "I remember him." His wife came back a week later with flowers. She kept thanking Linda. Another nurse recognized Margaret Chen. She said, "I remember her daughter. She brought dumplings. We didn't know why." And slowly, they started to understand. Mom had been doing this for 18 years, helping families say goodbye. And she never told anyone. Patricia started crying. She said, "I worked with Linda for 12 years. I thought I knew her, but I had no idea she was carrying this much." The hospital director said, "We need to honor this. We need to make sure people know what she did."
Is that when they created the memorial?
Yes, they asked if they could display the notebook in a memorial wing along with a plaque. At first, I wasn't sure because it felt so personal. These were people's last words, their private goodbyes. But then I realized Mom didn't do this for privacy. She did it so people would be remembered. So I said yes. They put it behind glass in the 3rd floor hallway, right outside the ICU, next to Ethan's room. The plaque says, "In loving memory of Nurse Linda Carter, who made sure no goodbye was ever forgotten, and her son, Ethan Carter, who inspired her every day. I visit every year on Mom's birthday, and every time I go, there are fresh flowers from people I've never met, families she helped. Some of them leave notes. They say things like, 'Thank you for letting my father's last words reach me. Because of Linda, I got to say goodbye. She gave us peace when we thought we'd never find it. She touched so many lives.' and she never asked for a.
That's a legacy most people can only dream of.
It is, but I wish she'd let someone help her. I wish she'd let herself grieve, because maybe if she had, she'd still be here. But that wasn't who she was. She gave everything, until there was nothing left.
Sophie, what do you want people to take away from your mom's story?
I want them to know you don't have to be okay to help someone else be okay. Mom was drowning, but she still threw life preservers to everyone around her, and that's beautiful. But it's also a warning, because you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't save everyone if you're not saving yourself. Mom couldn't save Ethan, but in trying to make peace with that, she helped 312 families find theirs. That's not nothing. That's everything. But I also want people to know, if you're carrying something heavy, you don't have to carry it alone. It's okay to ask for help. It's okay to break down. It's okay to say, I can't do this anymore. Because if Mom had done that, if she'd let us help her, maybe she'd still be here. So if you know someone who's always strong, always there for everyone else, always says they're fine, check on them. Because sometimes the people who smile the brightest are the ones hurting the most.
Linda Carter spent 18 years making sure people didn't die alone. She held their hands. She wrote their words. She carried their goodbyes home. And in the end, she died the way she lived, holding someone's hand. This has been the story of the nurse who kept every goodbye. If you've ever known someone who carried the weight of the world and never asked for help, let this be your reminder to say, I see you, thank you, and you are not alone. Sophie, thank you for sharing your mom with us today. I know Linda would be proud of you.
Thank you, Ethan. And to anyone listening, if you have something you need to say to someone, don't wait. Say it now, because you never know when it'll be too late.
This has been Hidden Hearts Podcast. I'm Ethan Cole. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're carrying something heavy, please, let someone help you carry it. We'll be back next week with another story, another heart, another truth that deserves to be told. Until then, take care of each other. And remember, every heart has a story, and every story deserves to be heard.